So now let's time this out using timing charts. So first I want to number my drawings, and I circle them to indicate that they're key drawings. This one's actually not a key, that one's more of a breakdown, so we'll underline this one. And we can also do the same thing on here, is we can set these as keyframes by clicking the K button for keyframe, B is for breakdown, and I is for in between, which actually just erases it altogether. So we'll set these as keys. This one's a breakdown, key, and key. So these are our extreme drawings. So these are more the storytelling positions that we have animated. But now we're ready to do our in-between. So let's time this out. Let's see, our first drawing's 1, and our last drawing's 7. So I'll indicate that this goes from 1 to 7. And how many drawings do we have in between these? Well, if you go by 2s meaning every drawing is on 2 exposures, so frame 1 lasts for 2 frames, and then our next drawing is going to be on frame 3, then our next drawing is going to be on frame 5. So I want them to start out easing in from frame 1. I want him to mostly favor this first drawing here. So I'll draw a line halfway in between. It's usually a good idea to go by halves because it's easier to do an in-between halfway between 1 and 7 rather than to do like, oh, it's a third favoring drawing 7. It's easier just to go by half, and usually you can indicate this by doing a little arch like that. So that's drawing 5 is halfway in between 1 and 7, and then if I do drawing 3 right here, indicate another arch showing it's halfway there, it'll start out slowly favoring frame 1 and then quickly get to frame 7. And then from frame 7 to 11, which is a breakdown, we only have frame 9, and we're just going to put frame 9 right in the middle since it's straight in between. 11 to 13 just pops from one frame to the next, so that's fine. And then we want it to really settle down to frame 17. So we have frame 13 going into frame 17. So again, we'll put the halfway mark, and that'll be drawing 15. And then I actually want a couple more in between. So we'll do drawing 17 here, and then drawing 19 here. So we'll put our arches in, showing our halfway points. That'll give us a nice slow out. And we need to change this drawing since it's 2 frames after 19, so this drawing is actually going to be 21. So let's click and drag and move this drawing to 21, and we'll erase this and redraw it as 21. And then we need to rename it here. So we can click on the frame and press Ctrl D to rename the drawing. And that's also under right-click, Drawings, Rename Drawing. And we'll call this 21, and there we go. So now we have our animation all timed out. It's pretty rough, but hopefully you get the idea so far. So now we just want to go through and do our in-betweens. So I go by halves, right? So I'm going to start on frame 5, which is my first half in between 1 and 7. So I'll click on frame 5, which I can see right here, and I'll press my blank drawing button, which is this one right here. That'll create a blank drawing, and then I'll turn on my onion skin by clicking this button here. Then I want to drag my brackets so that I can see drawing 1 and drawing 7, so I can in-between them. And when you're in-betweening, what a lot of beginners will do is, instead of putting things on arcs, which everything moves on an arc, and I do mean everything. So a lot of beginning animators, instead of going on this arc with this nose, for example, is they'll actually draw it on a straight line. So they'll draw the nose somewhere right here. And if you put all this stuff on straight lines, what ends up happening is you lose all of your volume and your character gets sort of squished and off model and just doesn't look very appealing. It looks off. It looks off, and sometimes you won't be able to tell why. And usually that's why, is because your shapes aren't on arcs. So let's pay attention to our arcs and make sure that we're adding everything where it should be. So I'll just go through and follow my timing charts and just keep adding in-betweens until I'm all finished. Another way to do in-betweens is to actually go in your drawing view. So the way Onion Skin works with drawing view is a little bit different. So instead of following the timeline with your brackets, it actually goes by number of previous drawings. So this is 1 previous drawing, and then I can extend it to 2, and I'll see my last 2 previous drawings, or 3, or 4, or 5. So Onion Skin works a bit differently in the drawing view. And you may find that the drawing view is a little easier to in-between on depending on your project, so just something to keep in mind. And here we have our rough animation. And let's say I wanted to extend this frame. This frame doesn't last very long, so the easiest way is to click where I want this frame to extend to and press F5. I can also right-click and go to Extend Exposure. And now my frame lasts until 40 frames. So I'm going to go up to my scene length, and lower it back down to 40 frames. So now we have our completed animation. It's a pretty rough example, but hopefully it gives you the idea of the sort of process to go through for doing digital animation. After this stage, usually I would move on to what's called the tie-down stage, where I'll get them more on model. And then after the tie-down stage, I'll do the cleanup, so the actual final line artwork. And then from there, we move on to coloring, and then after that, we add shading, import our backgrounds. So let's say we've done all that, and we're ready to export our final animation. To do that, we go up to File, Export, Movie, and you want to make sure that QuickTime is installed. It's super important that you have QuickTime installed before using Toon Boom Harmony. So we'll go up to Export Movie, save it where we want to be. Make sure you set it to export all your frames. Set it as the same scene resolution. Then go into Movie Options. And here's the options that I use when I'm exporting QuickTime movies. So I want to make sure that all these are checked on. And then we go up to our video settings. And here's what I use to get a nice, pretty compressed, but also good quality animation file. I use H.264. And then what's really important is you need to set your keyframes to all. You have to set it to all or else it's not going to work. And then usually I'll set this to best quality. And for a faster encode, I'll select single pass just because rendering can take a while. I'll leave that at automatic and press OK. For sound, I'll usually just select anything except no compression. I'll select one of these, and then for kilohertz, I'll either select 44 or 48. Both are pretty decent, so we'll press OK, and then press OK to export your animation. So here you see that we have the eyeballs turned off on our thumbs layer. So in the final export, our thumbnail layer will actually not show up. So here's our final exported animation.